Welcome to Occam's Razor and Merry Christmas. This is a special Dispatch 36 retelling of an Afghan tale from my dispatches back then. It was about three-quarter dispatches, not 3 dozen dispatches I put out at the time. This is the tale of the Christmas cookie. I wrote quite a lot when I was on Roto 10 and 11 in Afghanistan from August 2010 to March 2011. And this is one story from the 3 dozen dispatches I posted during that time. So sit back, relax, and listen to a tale that broke the monotony at the time. Soldiers at war and on deployment have traditionally received care packages, most often from friends and families, sometimes from official organizations within an affiliated or not affiliated with the Canadian Forces, and from various and sometimes private organizations and public groups. Here in CAF, remember I'm telling a tale from back then, here in CAF, since my arrival in July, there was a package which gave us each a t-shirt and beef jerky from a police and firefighters association. One of the guys' wives on the Griffin flight had sent several boxes donated through the Giant Tiger, where she works, containing toiletries and treats. Some members have received officially organized boxes from their own units, while others have gotten some from friends within these units, which at times have contained the type of politically incorrect publications one would get a public lashing for in the Sharia constitutional republic. Personally, there have been several packages from my lovely wife, who has kept me supplied with vitamins, microwave KD, Stuart McLean books, and pistachios. There was a box of assorted Picard's products from my mother-in-law, whose various salted products I have slowly enjoyed with near beer. And there was a box from my father-in-law with Hawkins Teasies and a publication to aid me in my safety rep duties, the Darwin Awards. My mom came From my mother came a special treat of sucre crème fudge, forewarned by my wife of its proclivity to trigger diabetic shock, and cognizant of the fudge's delicious addiction from my past experience with mom's pastry cooking. I had decided to share it with my coworkers upon its arrival, and when it did show up on night shift, between both our Griffin and Chinook maintainers, we only managed to demolish half of the 2 layers Mom had wrapped in a wax paper and carefully packed in a M&M's chicken breast box. The day shift filled with activity of flights and the travel of the flight crew and senior staff through our snags office managed to demolish the remaining fudge by the time our crew returned for our 12-hour shift later that evening. Tell your mom it was delicious, and to send more, was the praise as I peered at the remaining fudge crumbs at the bottom of the box. Pleased with having spread this sapid joy in our precursor to the Christmas season, I knew that the fudge had set a bar that would not be easily surpassed until I had Bruce's stepmother's rum balls, that is. And in the following days, well, those days brought us more food and treats and snags. Within our office, in the middle of the room, there usually sits a 6-foot table, a folding table, most often used in temporarily storage of aircraft parts, which are either soon to be installed or returned to supply. But at times, and more so as we approach Christmas, it had become the repository for the various consumable gifts from abroad, for all to pick through and guiltlessly take in the constant reminder of the support we have from our family, friends, and Canadians. As Christmas approaches, the abundance of mail from home has increased. Included in the incredible amount of Christmas cards and greetings from children from all over Canada, there has been the influx of seasonal candies, cakes, cookies, and pastries, which are in such abundance that a steady stream of them are readily available throughout the day. Every Saturday is market day. At the edge of base Kandahar sits a compound dedicated for the locals to peddle their wares, knockoff watches, jewelry, and pirated DVDs. Just beyond the market area is a school. On some Saturdays, this is also when various initiatives, usually from the military clergy involved, where military members can volunteer to help with local children through the Kandahar School with arts, crafts, and sports activities. One of the favorite crafts is to assist the kids with has been called kite making, much to the dismay of the various kite strikes our helicopters have experienced on approach to the airfield, as the several unwinding of strings from the airframes during post-flight inspections can attest. This past Saturday was one of those days when our padre, along with volunteers from our crew, had spent the morning communally engaging with the children. A highlight of the day was when our makeshift hockey nets were relocated to their field, allowing the kids to play a bastardized and very violent version of soccer hockey. We helped the kids with martial arts and crafts most of the morning and then watched them beat each other up on the field playing soccer, one of my coworkers would later remark. Around lunchtime, the padre came into the servicing to drop off the remaining coffee urn and boxes of the Timmy's coffee left over from the morning's event. Hey, Padre, I heard your truck didn't fare so well in Kandahar this week, I asked. Yes, it came back in pretty bad shape, he answered. In CAF, most of our vehicles are rented through a company called Sedexco. Padre's pickup had been dropped off at their on-base facility for some minor maintenance. He thought nothing of having left the small crucifix hanging from the rearview mirror, or the extra Bibles in the back seat. Ordinarily, it wouldn't have been an issue, except that the rental company had decided to farm out the maintenance the Padres pickup required to a local company within Kandahar City, a company distinctly off base. The hood looks like somebody took a bat to it. There are dents along the side, the windshield is cracked, and the alignment is off like someone drove it into a big rock, he added. The crucifixes was missing, but somehow the Bibles in the back seat remained untouched. I wouldn't have cleaned out the truck had I known it was going into the city, but I thought I was just dropping it off at Sedexco. Ah, those crazy religion of piecers, I couldn't help thinking. He was obviously aware enough to hide overt symbols of Christianity to keep such things from inviting vandalism, if not only to avoid offense. I couldn't help but wonder how the cross on his rank slip-ons affect his interactions outside the wire. Such overt infidel symbolism, after all, is a vivid Taliban propaganda tool to remind the locals that we are, after all, crusading occupiers. Thanks for the coffee, many within Snag said. It might not be too hot anymore, he responded, as I poured myself a cup, watching the faintest wisps of steam as the sun had not completely recovered the night's below freezing chill from the air. This is just grand, I offered. And the coffee was at the perfect quaffing temperature as I walked out of Snag's to observe one of our Chinooks taxi back in to drop off another load of troops, ripping out from the end of their tour, and to take another load of supplies back to one of the many forward observation bases we and our allies operate from. When I walked back into the office, next to the cardboard coffee urns now sat some homemade cookies on crinkly silver-colored tinfoil. I could definitely tell they were homemade because they lacked the symmetry one expects from any over-the-counter baked goods. Ooh, cookies! As I grabbed one, chewed and swallowed it back with the last of my coffee. Oatmeal it would turn out to be, with a slight tangy spice. Very nice, I thought. I sat down on our side of the office in front of our Chinook laptop log sets next to my sergeant's desk, swallowing the last of the cookie crumbs, only to hear Sergeant Stoutheart say, I wonder how safe those cookies the Padre brought in are. I don't know if I'd be eating something made by those kids with who knows where their hands have been. I had just swallowed the last crumbs. There was no turning back. Well, crap. That would have been nice to know before I ate one. There's a physiological response humans have, which we've genetically inherited from our ancestors. Comes from the primitive part of the brain, I'm told. I've heard it ascribed to the flight or flee response, which inadvertently produces adrenaline. And depending on the circumstances, adrenaline will either result in a burst of strength, cause panic, or a host of other bodily events. I began to experience some of those other events. Refusing to panic, I quickly made a mental inventory of my physiological disposition. I've been feeling rather healthy, and I've been had no stomach issues since my brief encounter with the CAF trots back in August. And since my lovely wife sent me those probiotic pills to combat the foreign food issues and the inevitable fine brown baby powder dust contaminating of everything you eat and breathe here in CAF, I have no concerns regarding what comes into my feed bag. Mentally, I was calm. Whatever may come of this cookie be damned. I was determined not to let it affect me. However, my scalp started to tingle, my vision slightly blurred, and I was beginning to wonder if perhaps some opiates had somehow made their way into the cookie. After all, this is the land of huge marijuana crops and poppy fields. I turned to see my buddy John chomp into one of the cookies. John, are you sure you want to eat that? I asked. I quickly explained what I just heard, and his face went expressionless. He walked to the garbage and spat out the one bite he'd taken and dropped the rest of the cookie into the trash. A religious man, John, looked unimpressed as he walked out of Snag's, presumably to go gargle with some bottled water. I've seen him angry before. The look on his face was more one of betrayal, that the padre would bring in food from such unknown origins into our little communal sanctuary, that inviolate sanctuary, the aircraft parts table come rotating treats smorgasbord, had somehow been molested by pastries of unknown origin, made John look like someone had catapulted a puppy over the parapet for fun. I didn't know what to do. I kept looking at the cookies, thinking someone should quarantine those, or at least throw them out. But the padre bought them in, and to simply pick them up and throw them out seemed rude, in spite of the astronomically probable and problematic repercussions. I looked up to see one of our ABS techs punch good chime. Halfway through eating one of the suspicious wafers and on the way out the door, "A punch," I said, bounding out of my seat after him. Outside the snag shack, standing in front of the punch, half, he was now holding half a wafer, having swallowed his first mouthful and now taking another bite. As I said, "You may not want to eat the rest of that." Jovially, he asked why. Thinking I was jesting, probably assuming I would suggest he give me the remains of the confection in his hand for my own consumption. Padre brought those back from Kandahar school, from this morning's activities with the local kids. Still smiling, he asked, "What's wrong with that?" I added, "Well, if those were made by the locals, you're aware that they may not have the same respect for hygiene that we do. I mean, who knows where the hands that made those cookies have been?" His smile quickly turned to a look of grave concern as our conversation ensued. "You're kidding, right?" he pleadingly asked. "No, I'm not. I'm not kidding around. I mean, I wish I'd known before I ate a whole one myself," I finished. Just then, John walked by saying, "My throat hurts. There's definitely something in that cookie." Punch slowly turned around to the nearest trash can and spat out what biscuit remained in his mouth he could expel. Again, I was looking at yet another face reeling from the revelations of treachery. "What was the padre thinking?" he said. "I don't know what to say, Punch. Other than that spicy flavor, I'm starting to wonder if there might be some other hallucinogenic contaminants in it, opium or whatnot." Punch, still in disbelief at the padre's baked Judas kiss. "Doesn't he know? Oh man, I'm seriously thinking of making myself puke. This is screwed up." And off he stormed. And still there was the matter of the remaining cookies and snags. And still unsure of my own bodily reaction, I wondered if indeed there had been any opiates within as I wavered between giddiness and concern. My mouth suddenly felt very dry. I made my way into the canteen tent to fetch a bottle of water. Sitting at one of the tables were Bruce and Joe, eating some sandwiches, and on the table behind them was a large Tupperware container holding what seemed to be about 6 more dozen of these perfidious treats. As I opened the fridge to grab a bottle of water, preparing myself to once again be the bearer of bad news, I asked, "How are the cookies?" "Delicious," answered Bruce. Before I could mention their suspect origin, he added, "Some church lady back home sent them to the Padre. Friggin' awesome oatmeal cookies! I swallowed a drink of water and felt a sudden wave of relief. The tingling in my scalp went away, and the psychosomatic psychedelic opiate effects suddenly ceased. That's great, I said, and walked out of the tent to go back into Snags. As I walked in, I announced, "Well, that's a relief." Sergeant Green, the other Griffin controller, asked, "What is?" "The cookies," I said. "They're from a church lady in Canada. They're quite safe." "Really?" said Sergeant Green, as he began to chuckle. "What?" added Terry, one of the other ABS techs. "So Punch was sticking his finger down his throat there between 3 and 4 hanger for nothing?" And in walked Punch. "I tried, man. My throat hurts after all that effort. I couldn't help. I couldn't make myself puke." "Oh, Punch, seems the cookies are just fine," I said. By now, all those in Snags were either sniggering or in various states of stifled chortling. Once again, but for a completely different reason, Punch was looking particularly both pissed and betrayed. "What do you mean?" I explained what had transpired in the canteen tent, and as I finished, I was laughing uncontrollably. "You lying bastard!" Punch accused. I had my finger down my throat, and now my throat hurts, and you— Beset with fits of mirth, I tried to explain, pointing to Sergeant Stoutheart, that it was he who had inferred the origin of the Padres' deposit. But I was unintelligible. Punch in a huff walked out from Snags. The rest of us in Snags wiped the tears from our eyes. John, turns out, his sore throat was due to his allergy to the orange rind used for the spice in the cookies. This was our first day shift after weeks of working in the freezing desert night air. It was finally warm enough to shed the pullover, the fleece, the gloves, the uniform shirt, and trade my toque for my ball cap. The sun was out and provided almost enough heat to not feel the chill in a t-shirt. It's great to be back on days, I thought, as I poured myself another cup of coffee and had a cookie. Thank you for listening to the end, and Merry Christmas. Please like, share, subscribe, follow, and comment. It pleases the algorithm and helps to grow the channel. Join us tomorrow for a Boxing Day tale from Afghanistan. This time, the trout that killed Christmas. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.